When was the last time you stopped and looked and thought to yourself, something doesn't seem quite right about this? Look at this picture. Are you the one cooking, or are you being cooked? So, today, I'm going to focus on things that we should be focusing on rather than the things that we are focusing on, which really don't add up to much of anything when you really think about it. Get your popcorn and your thinking hat. Stay tuned. Hey, everybody. So, I want to talk about something that's super duper important. And I think that it gets lost on a lot of people from day to day. We get to working and we focus on how to get to work, how are we going to pay for lunch, how are we going to get back home from work, how are we going to sleep, how are we going to do our things that we have to do day to day, whether or not we have children or not, whether or not we have a significant other or not. And then we have so many things that we think about, and then we say, okay, let's go to sleep. We get up and we do it all over again. But one thing that you did not do is sit there and try to figure out what is actually important. Yes, it's important to get up and live your life and do what you got to do to make ends meet. But within that time, you have time in the day that you should be thinking about something that's so much more important. And that is, where are you going to progress to? Where does this all lead to? Because the worst thing that you could do is be stagnant. The worst thing that you could do is be stagnant. The worst thing that you could do is be distracted by everything that goes on here in this world, on this earth. That's the worst thing you can do. Because if I just live my life day to day trying to figure out how I'm going to do stuff and how I'm going to live somebody else's dream and how I'm going to bring somebody else's things into fruition so I can get my little piece of the pie and I can go back home, then I have failed. I have failed myself. I have failed my family. I have failed my children. I have failed everyone that looks up to me. I have failed the person that is below me that's coming up. I have failed. And the reason why I have failed is because I didn't focus on the most important things. For a long time when I was in my 20s, my younger 20s, and even my mid-20s, to believe, up to maybe about 28 years old, I was so worried about what my role was here on earth. I didn't feel like I had contributed enough. I wanted to know what I was supposed to do. And yes, when I was in high school, I did think about what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a lawyer. But then I'm poor. I grew up in a very poor house, and we did progress, and we got a little bit more money, but I still maintained a poor mindset. But then I decided that I didn't like the way things looked around me, and I shed all my friends. And I went and I put my foot out there in the world, and I did something different than a lot of people around me was doing. I thought to myself, I don't need to stay here. I don't have any kids. I don't have a husband. I can go off and I can do whatever I wanted to. And I said, well, I can go backpacking around Europe, or I could do something even better and try to enrich myself the way I didn't see other people being enriched. Because when I was growing up, I started working when I was 14 years old, and I was working in fast food. I graduated at 17 years old from high school. I was still working at fast food. A year later on, after graduating from high school, I was still working at fast food. By that time, I had varicose veins. You're not supposed to sit down on the job. There was a whole bunch of drama at the job. There was not a lot of money to be made. I mean, yeah, that was a long time ago, and I made about $4.25 when I first started off. And in the end, I made about $5, I want to say. Yeah, it was about $5 or $5.15, something like that. And back then, it was enough to live off of. It was a little bit of money, but it was enough to live off of. I was able to pay my rent. I was able to catch the bus back and forth to work and home, and I was able to eat not a lot, so I was skinny, house poor, but I had a roof over my head, and I had a way to get back and forth to school and to work. And that's another thing. Yes, I was going to school, so I was using my father's GI Bill, because if you didn't know, in the military, your GI Bill, or the person who was in the military, if they were active duty, then or they were some sort of a veteran, then your children can go to school off of your benefits. You could do that. So so I decided to do that, and then all of the money that I squirreled away, then I went ahead and I used that to pay for my tuition. And I throughout the years, I did pay for a lot of things in the house, but I always made sure that I put some money to the side for myself. Now, this was before the days of having a cell phone. This was before the days of everybody was thinking that they had to have their hair done a certain way, and this was before the days of some sort of bodily enhancements, and these were the days that you just was you woke up, you did the hair that you had on your head, and you looked presentable, and you walked out the door. This was before the days of everybody feeling like they needed makeup. This was before the days of everybody feeling like they needed to be not just have makeup, but be done up to the T's. Like to walk out and be presentable enough to be on the cover of a fashion magazine somewhere. And this was before the days that you were expected to have some sort of a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and you guys were talking about marriage and everything. This is before then. Then back then in them days, you were told, just don't rush things, just wait and like wait until you're like in your mid-20s and then think about something seriously. So that's how I grew up. And I'm so glad that I did. And not only did I grow up that way, I also was in my own bubble, which helped me not to be succumbed to all of the temptations that other people were tempted with, because I was in my own bubble. I wanted success. I looked at people and I wanted to know how they got that. I didn't get jealous of those people. I asked those people, how did you get there? I wanted to do exactly what they did, if not something better. And me, little girl, growing up without no money, I didn't care. I did not care. Where there's a will, there's a way, and God dang it, I'm going to make it. That was my attitude. Nobody else in my family had that same attitude. We were all poised and ready to try to be something, but we didn't know how to get there. So we went out there and we just made a way. We just did it. These days, people, I think that the world owes them something. And in some respects, the world does. But that doesn't mean that you're going to get it. So against all odds, I just try to go out there and try to get whatever it is that I want. And whatever I put my mind to, I go off and I do it. Whatever I want, I go off and I get it. I'm not saying that to say that I go off and I get everything. But what I am saying is that I'm focused. I'm focused on what I want. I'm focused on what I can get. And I'm so happy that I was not a part of the people who got stuck living in their mama's basement, pregnant with a baby daddy that left them because they wasn't married. I'm glad that I got away with not being addicted to drugs, not even trying drugs, because I'm part of that whole say no to drug era. And Officer Friendly came to the school and told us we needed to watch out for STDs, and they showed us those really, really gross slides of all of the people who had some sort of a terrible disease. And I didn't want to be like them people, like people who had syphilis with holes in their bodies that they couldn't feel supposedly, and that was oozing all over the place. I didn't want to be like those people who had some sort of other disease that they couldn't get rid of for the rest of their lives. I wasn't one of those people who thought that it was okay and it was cool to just go run around with, Tom, Dick, and Harry, Mary, and Sue. And then so I had those things that was in the back of my mind telling me, hey, you need to think twice. As a matter of fact, don't do it at all. There's no good in it. And if you want to be respected, you got to go the respectable route. You got to be married. So when I did find a guy who I wanted to marry, I sat there on the side and I liked him. I watched him for 2 straight years before we actually said anything to each other, and before we actually got together to do something And then when we did get together to do something, I told him I want to be married, and there's nothing less that I would accept. And if he didn't want to go along with that, then, that's okay. But you're going to make an honest woman out of me. I'm not going to be somebody's side piece, somebody's fun piece. No, I'm not doing those things. If you want me, then you will marry me. If not, then, I'm not going to sit here and sin with you. And it's that decisive attitude that I had about things that I feel like saved me from a lot of crap that's out here. So I have that. But here's the thing. Getting married for me, finding somebody and getting married for me was not my number one priority. I know that, God says that we should, it's part of our deen that we go ahead and we get married. So when the opportunity presented itself, then I was very sure about wanting to do things the right way. But at the same time, I wasn't going to compromise my morals and my values just to have this guy in my life, number one. And number two, I think that these days, what's wrong with us in society is not the number one thing. But what's wrong with us, one of the problems that we have, is that we are consumed with thinking about all of the things that are not going to benefit us. So what I'm saying is, I came from humble beginnings, but I was not going to accept that I was going to be humbly ending anything. I knew that there was some sort of mark that I had to make on this world, and I didn't know what it was. And that drove me crazy for a minute. Not gonna lie, it drove me crazy. Now, what I had to figure out was something that I had heard over and over and over again, but for some reason it never really dawned on me, and I couldn't understand why. Now that I understand it, now that it is absolutely a part of the fabric of my being, I don't understand why it didn't permeate further back then. And I think it's because I was distracted so much. And that realization is that I was put on this earth to worship God. So Allah says that that's my purpose. He made me so I can worship Him. When I really digested that, I thought that I'm here so I can be a lawyer and I can get people out of jail, or I can make sure that I put people in jail that are bad, and that is my mark on society, and that is what I'm gonna aim for, and that's what I'm gonna strive for. And no, it's not. That's my secondary thing. My first thing that I have to do is make sure that I acknowledge and I submit to my Lord. And so that if I just could process that earlier on without feeling like I'm bombarded with everything. Oh, the world wants me to do this. I got to do that. As a Muslim, I got to do this. I got to do that. Look, if I just take it as simple as it is, I just have to acknowledge and submit. That's it. And then I could take baby steps, as many baby steps as I need to before I get up and I start walking, and then I get up and I start running, with my worship. But number one, I have to understand why I was put on this earth. And then number two, I have to submit to it. And that means trusting that my Lord got me. My Lord has given me everything that I need. My Lord has given me this wonderful book. He's given me wonderful messengers. May peace be upon all of them. And that He set me up for success. And what I want, I will get. Because it says that in the Quran that I can get whatever I ask Allah for. And He's going to give it to me. So if that's the case, then I'll ask Him. And guess what? Allah will give you what you ask for, even if it's not good. It's not going to benefit you. It's not good. He doesn't always give us whatever we ask for. Sometimes we ask Him for something and He gives us something else that's even better. And we don't even miss what we asked for because He gave us something so much better and so much grander. So with that being said, I can ask Him for anything that I want. So why should I fear being broke? Why should I fear being alone? Why should I fear living in my current state of whatever it is? There's nothing to fear because God got me. And the world is my oyster because I, as a human, was put on this earth to command this joint down here to bend and do what I needed to do so I could survive. Because I'm the caretaker down here. Like Allah is a caretaker, yes. But he says that you will get blessings off of doing stuff for His sake. So I'm put on this earth to worship Him. Thank you, Allah. Thank you for everything You've done for me. Please lead me to guide please guide me the right way. The way of those who earned Your favor and not those who earned Your wrath. And for the sake of Allah, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to pick up this trash. I'm going to use this rock that Allah has given me. I'm going to pulverize it. I'm going to mix it with some stuff and I'm going to make a house out of it. That's what He has given me. He's given me all of these wonderful things I could do stuff with. He's given me water. He's given me food. He's given me everything that I need. And I worship Him and I thank Him for those things. And then, but to me, is all this stuff enough? Yes. Am I content with whatever God gives me? Yes. When I need, do I feel like I can go to Allah and ask Him for stuff? Yes. So I do. When I don't need something. Like I can ask Allah for $1 million. You can ask for Allah for $1 million too. I ask Allah for $1 million. Does that make me bad? Does that make me greedy? No, it doesn't. Because Allah says that He will give me what I ask Him for. As long as I am fulfilling my end of the bargain, and sometimes even not. Because the reason why I point out that I don't necessarily have to do those things, and I don't necessarily have to be Muslim in order to get what I want, is because Allah says that He will give you whatever you want, whether it's good or bad. He will give you something that can be a real test for you because you asked for it. It's not a gift, but it is a test. It's a test to see, are you going to be thankful for what He gives you? Are you going to go and you're going to pray? You're going to become Muslim? And then He gives you something. Are you going to go pray? Are you going to thank Him for what He's given you? Or are you going to say, I got it myself? So, you should always be thankful for what God has given you. Always be thankful for what Allah has done for you. The fact that you can listen to this, the fact that you can walk, the fact that you can make your own money somehow, the fact that you woke up, the fact that your heart has just beat. You should thank Him for, because He didn't need to do those things for you. He takes care of you in every way. You don't make your heart beat. He does. And when you realize that, you become a whole nother person on a whole nother level. And when you ask Allah, hey, can I have a spouse? He gives you one. You ask him for, if you don't know what you're asking for, ask him for something that will please him. And he gives you a spouse. But guess what? You're not entitled to that spouse. You're not entitled to children. You're not entitled to anything unless God gives you those things. And the reason why I am pointing this out is because we wake up and we think about the wrong things. We're focused on work and providing and doing stuff for other people, and we're focused on whether or not this guy has this particular problem with me as a woman, or a color of a skin, or whatever I drive. We're so concerned about the clothes that we wear and whether or not someone else thinks that it's nice. We're worried about whether or not somebody has lashes and somebody else doesn't. We're worried about whether or not somebody is driving the biggest, baddest thing or not. Who has a Cybertruck? Who has a Cybertruck? Okay? If you don't have a Cybertruck, you ain't in the you're nothing. You're nothing. You're not in the club, the group, the whatever. You're not cool if you don't drive up, or if you don't have a, or if you're not wearing a, or if you can't afford a, if you don't have a, whatever. We're so worried. Like, why are there gender wars? Why? Why should I care about what another man thinks about a woman? Why should I care? I don't care. That's not my guy. That's not a guy who I'm going to pay attention to, and I don't have to prove anything to anyone except for God. As long as I remember those things, who the heck cares? And while I'm talking about nobody understanding what's going on in front of you, you guys, we are in an economic crisis. If you live in America, if you live in France, if you live in Italy, if you live overseas anywhere, it doesn't matter. If you live in Africa, it doesn't matter. We're in a world financial crisis. But instead of worrying about what you need to really worry about is how you going to make it in the eyes and the way of Allah, that he tells you to, what he tells you to do, what he commands of you, so you can receive those blessings. No, we're running off and we're distracted by everything else that's worldly. This economic crisis that's going on, Allah can get us all out of it if we just act right. If we just get better. It doesn't mean that you have to even be Muslim. You could just be a good person at heart. Sure, you can be praying to the wrong thing or whatever, but even Allah will have mercy on them. Because Allah, even if you don't get a chance to understand anything about Islam or a fair opportunity or whatever, then when you die, Allah is not going to go, okay, well you worship that thing over there. He's going to give you a chance. You'll always get a chance. Allah is just. Allah is fair. Allah is full of mercy. And He's the most gracious. And so I say all that to say, stop waking up worrying so much and putting so much into what someone else may be doing and not taking care of what you have and not focusing on the right thing. Because right now, the world is so focused on everything else that doesn't mean a hill of beans. That doesn't mean anything. Instead of focusing on Allah, instead of focusing on your prayer, that's what you were here for. You put on this earth to worship. And then you can go forth and Allah will bless you. As long as you're a good person. Do right by people. Don't backstab. You don't even have to work hard because Allah can just give you stuff. But if you work hard, you ask Allah to pay you even harder. So in other words, if I'm going to work really hard, I want to get paid really well. Or I don't want things to cost so much. So when this economic bubble goes boom, I want to, let's bring these prices down. Let's back it up. Everything be good. I can ask Allah for that. I think we should ask Allah for that. Ask Allah that we all get through this financial crisis that's coming our way. No one is paying attention to, except for a few. And that we come back, get on a straight path, and understand what is the most important thing. And we all prosper to get out of debt. And we all are set on a straight path. A path to you, Allah. Ameen. And so if you guys don't understand what I'm talking about, you should really do some research. You should do some research. Saudi Arabia, the guy, I forget his name, that prince, he switched his money. It's no longer the petrol. It's something else. He's using something else. The American dollar is being devalued as we speak with the inflation and everything else going on. Donald Trump is not going to save anybody from anything. The financial crisis is going on. It's been going on. And it will only get worse up underneath of Donald Trump because he only wants to put money in his own pockets. He wants to put money in his own pockets, and for the rich people, he wants to make us all other people slaves. And he wants to make us basically work pennies on a dollar and never get out of debt. He is not for anyone else but himself and his cronies. That's it. He's not even for his cronies. He's really just for himself. I'm not saying that Kamala Harris is a million times better, but she's 100% better. She's much better. But she's only feet before you get to the cliff. Donald Trump is the cliff. And we all will fall off of it with him. She is a few feet before you get to the cliff. And maybe we could be reeled back and saved. But I'm not worried about finding a mate and expanding in my family or anything else. Sure, I would like those things. But right now, what's coming in the future, I'm worried more so about that. And I'm worried about getting myself together and thinking bigger and thinking wider than anything I've ever thought before. And praying more, getting closer to Allah, and asking Allah for cushion against anything that's coming our way. And I think that we all should get on that same page. Prayer and making sure that you realize that there are things that are bigger than you. If you don't want to become Muslim, if you ain't Muslim, okay, fine. Okay. But this whole spirituality thing out here, I believe ain't nothing but worshiping the devil. That's it. It's worshiping the devil. You putting everything else in front of Allah. You putting the universe in front of Allah. Oh, universe, give me. No. But if you have a religion, please hold on to that religion. Please do. Please do. Because a religion is better than no religion. So if you're a Christian, you're a Jew, okay, please pray. Go pray. We need people with some structure around here instead of running around praying to the devil. It's not cool. It's not cool. So, that's all I wanted to say. We focus on the wrong things around here. And my energy is so much more expensive than any dollar can, pay. You cannot quantify my energy. And I shouldn't be able to quantify you and your energy. No. We are rich people. And as soon as you change your mind to realize that, then the doors will open and flood for you, because Allah says that He will give me and you whatever you want. Doesn't that sound like the law of attraction? You just got to tweak it. Whatever way it's taught, you just got to tweak it a little bit. And put a law there. And ask Him directly for whatever you want. And you shall have it. Or He'll give you something better, because He promised it to us. He promised it to us. And Allah always makes good on His promises. All right, that's all I wanted to say to you guys. Please like, subscribe, and send this to somebody else who's on that hamster wheel of life. Because once you put Allah there, everything else opens up for you. You know, I used to think I didn't have time to pray. You got time to pray. Somehow, I'm telling you, this has happened to me. Allah makes time seem to slow down, and I can read the Quran. Allah makes time to pray. Okay. And if I leave out of the house a couple minutes late, I still get to work on time. When I'm driving, I'll say, ooh, where did time go? And I realize I'm someplace way closer than I ever thought that I should be, or I would have been any other day. I'm thinking it. And I was like, what did I do? Jump time? Probably so. Did I notice? No. Is it a miracle from Allah? Yes. He does them every day for me. And I know He does them every day for you too. If you just open your eyes and you see that God loves us. God really loves us. And we are worthy. Okay. I'm out. Till next time.